Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fashionistas and the uninterested, welcome to SMA Talks the Podcast. My name is Ayodeji Saraki. It shouldn't be a surprise to you to know that Nigerians are the largest consumer of the fashion industry here in Africa. Today's conversation will focus on how we can harness the opportunities within the fashion industry in the nation's capital, Abuja. And of course, today I have a friend. He's a fashion designer, a very prominent one here in Abuja. And he's going to be sharing with us. And we're going to be discussing quite a bit on the topic, harnessing the opportunities in the fashion industry in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. Hello, Gabriel Solomon.
Hi, EG.
How you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I mean, the weather, rainy season, and I think it's pretty chilled.
It is what we need right now. Everywhere is hot. The tension is high.
True.
COVID and the many things that are happening within the society. So I think we need the rain.
Russell, like our topic today is harnessing the opportunities here in Abuja in the fashion industry, because there are quite a number of young people involved in fashion. Either they are consumers or they are producers. You know, they make clothes, and the whole chain, the fashion chain, I mean, it's a process, you know, from the material to the making of the clothes, people that wear it, the finish, and all of that. I mean, it's a huge process. Mm-hmm. So how do you think young people can harness the opportunity, especially here in Abuja?
Harness the opportunity as a producer or as a consumer?
Let's start as a producer.
Okay. It's like you rightly said. There's a market that is being harnessed by the young people, and I feel like as young people who would like to, I would assume that's the question, who would like to go into the fashion space industry in itself, how would they be able to penetrate and create value for themselves, right?
And I'm sorry to cut you. The reason I'm particular about Abuja is because we know that Lagos is like the fashion hub of the country.
Right.
So for young people here in Abuja, how can they enter? Because if you go to stores, I mean, ready to wear and all those clothes, they're quite expensive, you know, and people have this, they don't want to make cheap clothes because they feel that their customers or their intended customers will not buy it. Yeah, and things are quite expensive. So if you want to pursue that dream of fashion, you want to be a fashion brand, how would a young person listening to you now, how would they even navigate? How would they find their way? What should they start with?
I would say, it seemed like you were trying to complain from a consumer point of view, but with regards to prices and all of that. But I would say I really would just say it's a global thing at the moment. Especially in the climate that we're in, a lot of things have added in value, I would put it that way, and some of the people or the designers out there who are retailing in a way are basically trying to see how they can break even. But for young designers who are trying to, or young people aspiring to be in this space, all I would say they first need is determination, character, and the drive, really, because I believe nothing that you want to set out to do comes by easy. Yeah. Especially if you're towing the part where you want to do things the legitimate way. So they have to have these values. It's very important for them because the industry will test them. The market system will test them. the people that they hire to work with them or want to work alongside them will test them. The government will test them, and the consumers will test them as well. So they need to be sure they have the right value to be able to stay the cost, right? So it's basically what I would say in a nutshell.
All right. So let's go into your own story. Because for those listening, Gabriel Solomon is a household name.
Is it?
You know, so I mean, name has come to stay in the fashion industry here in Nigeria, as long as we're concerned. So
I feel very flattered.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
I mean, you make quality clothes. If you haven't seen his brand, you should go check it out on Instagram. I think he's at Gabriel Solomon. Yeah, just follow his page. He has beautiful clothes, quality fabrics, and all made here in Nigeria. So, like I always say, you have to buy Nigeria, wear Nigeria, promote your African brothers and sisters. So, Gabriel, I would like you to walk us through your journey of how you started out. Maybe with your story, you can inspire someone listening.
How I started out was a very long time ago. I would put it that way. First of all, it came as an interest, and also an innate ability to create. First of all, that's how it started. And as time went by, the interest, kept building on. But in a very simple, short term, I literally took my interest and I tried to find the right people who would mentor me and guide me. And not just because it was something that I wanted to, like I'm seeking help from someone. I also made sure that I was exchanging value in return, because in this life, no matter how you see it, there is no free lunch anywhere. I put it that way. It's very straightforward. It's direct, but it's really what it is, because you would think that someone has an interest in you based off the talent that you have, but at the end of the day, it's more about what they can also get from you as a person, because you also want something from them. So you should be able to tell yourself that I have something of what to exchange for the opportunity that I want. Is it your time? Is it helping people do things that might not necessarily be towards the path that you're on? But as long as you're able to exchange value in the process of getting what you want, I believe you should be on the right path towards achieving what you want.
But for someone like you have worked in Lagos, right? You did quite a bit in Lagos before moving to Abuja. So what's like the difference, would you say? Do you think coming to Abuja, the consumers, because you make clothes, nice clothes, so would you say you had to change some certain level of, like, you had to improve on your standard, or what was the difference from your Lagos customers?
Funnily enough, I really would say I didn't start designing from Lagos.
Okay.
I was a celebrity stylist in Lagos, and I had a down moment, and I would put it that way, for a very long time mentally, and I needed a place to reinvent myself. In the process of reinventing myself, I've always had the constant urge to start Gabriel Solomon, but I was just waiting for what the time that it was right for me to do it. So, but while I was in Lagos, I tried to sort of start it, but like in a more informal way. And I would say I told a more safe route while I was there, trying to start, but it was not until when I moved to Abuja that I actually established Russell Solomon. And while I was here, I explored more, I would say. But one thing I know that I was very keen on was correcting the errors of my past, which was when I wanted to do Russell Solomon, but I did it in a more informal way. Was basically trying to understand the business, understand the structures around it, then also understanding the very heart of design, I would put it, which is at the end of the day, give a quality product. So, and I found out that in Abuja I was able to perfect that, which was perfect the craftsmanship within production. But with regards to design, I had a lot of exploration to do here. I had no boundaries in as much as I was in an environment where it was people's style were very limiting, I would put it,
limiting.
Yeah. So, but I still expressed myself in the most
because
beautiful way.
Like you said, in as much as people's style was quite limiting, or was very limiting
at the time.
Yeah. Okay. I know young designers that want to, break through mainstream fashion here in Abuja. And the reason why I want the focus to be on Abuja is because we often hear people advise them and say, why not go to Lagos if you want to blow, they say, whether music, anything in the arts, why not just go to Lagos? And there are people that, they were born and raised here in Abuja and they don't have the resource to, move to another city. We all know how Nigeria is. They don't have anyone to live with in Lagos. They don't know what they're going to do in Lagos. I can't just go to Lagos and live on the streets. How can this start here? Yes, I agree. You said you have to have value by yourself to know that, to design and whatever, even if it's a sketch on paper or whatever. But we often face, or people often face this challenge of, a celebrity has to wear my clothes. If Russell, for example, if Russell is not wearing my clothes, how would people see it? So how would...
Not necessarily. So here's the thing, right? I feel like the first persons you have to convince about your craft is the people within your circle. First,
your friends, family.
Your friends, your families. Those are the first people or persons that you need if you're seeking validation, right?
Yeah.
You ought to get that validation from. If you're not able to get that from there, I would say that maybe they may not see your vision, right? But I always feel like there is no way you're probably not going to get validation from the people that say they love you genuinely. But I say this because it's very important for a journey. It's from a business angle. It's if you can't market to the people that you're most familiar with, who do you think you want? Do you think you could be able to market to a stranger?
Yeah.
Or you be able to sell your ideas to a stranger? I'm just giving you an instance. Yeah. Sometimes family members don't believe in your dream, maybe because they have a warped vision, or they have a very limiting vision of what they see you do, right? But in most cases, there's almost you cannot say that you don't have a friend or someone in your circle who sees things on a global scale or in a way that you see things anyway. So those are the people you have to convince first before you start to move into celebrities and the rest of them, right?
Well, true.
Because everything is baby steps. You don't just
jump.
Yeah,
you have to go through the process.
Yeah, it's a process.
But also, the issue of, thankfully, we're at the age where there's social media, so you can advertise your brand on social media and people can see what you produce or what you make. and yourself. But in Abuja, we don't really have much design week, for example, that designers can showcase compared to Lagos. I mean, Lagos has the Lagos Fashion and Design Week, this runway program and that, where people can actually go and showcase their products.
The honest truth is, people can see your product from the comfort of your home. Now, if I'm being very realistic and being very honest, the world in itself right now is in a total facing a turnaround. If major fashion weeks are reconsidering, strategies and how they want to showcase things or how they want to assemble themselves. So right now it's probably like the best time for anyone who's been thinking about, I want to go do this fashion week or there, or maybe if I go there, I'll become this and that. The honest truth is, you can build traction from where you are with the right tools and with the right information, and everywhere, and everybody in the world, maybe within your locality or within the country, within a continent, would see the things that you are making. And if there are people who resonate with what you're making, then you're on a good. They'll come to you.
I would like us to look at it from the creative point of view.
Yeah.
Now, Abuja is quite conservative,
right.
So people you see mostly wearing kaftans and all of that. And if you probably wear shorts, they will stare at you.
Let them stare.
Like what Ozo was wearing in the house. I mean, if you wear it now, they're looking at you. What's wrong with this guy? Is he, So they just make up assumptions about you.
Here's the thing. That's people's perspective. Yeah. You don't have control over that. Yeah. That you wear a kaftan or not, people still look at you and size you up and put a tag on you. Without you giving them that permission right? So you can't live your life based on what people assume or think.
But the reason why I brought that up is because, so for a designer that I'm thinking of, for a designer or a creative, so he or she's thinking that he's quite limited in the environment that he is, because my kind of styles and design I have upstairs in my head is something more mainstream fashion. Right. Well, in a society where they're very conservative, you see them with hijabs and all of that. So I'm not at the right market. Does that make sense? Because
I understand, because I'm sure you're speaking to Gabriel Solomon, the brand, right?
Exactly.
So, and you would assume that I have thought about these things or I face these challenges, right? Yeah. But here's what I think. Your market is not everybody.
Sure.
I need you to take that and take it anywhere. Yeah. Your market is not everybody. No matter where you find yourself in, you are not meant to be for everybody. Yeah. Now, also, the other thing I'm probably going to advise anyone is the fact that before you even jump into it, you have to ask yourself the hard questions. Why are you doing this? Why?
What is the why?
Yes.
Answer the why first. That's
a very hard question. If you can answer that, right, you would derive whatever satisfaction you derive, whatever result you find, going forward. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if you don't answer that question, the people who are making kaftans, the people who are wearing kaftans, for instance, would look at you and laugh at you and be like, he doesn't really know what he's doing. Is this how he's going to feed? What is he going to do with this? And you might feel discouraged at some point, right? That's if you haven't answered your question. So I believe that you should ask yourself that question, that you can move forward. If you answer that question right, then it means that everybody's not for you. Right? So then you make sure that you find your type, find your kind. Now, they might not necessarily they might be in Lagos, they might not be in Lagos. A lot of them are actually here in this city, right? They might not necessarily be the senators and the House of Rep members and the presidency and the...
Absolutely.
But you see, like I said to you, the market that you're probably looking at is not the market that those people I just mentioned are in. Now, does that mean they don't wear what you make from time to time? Yes, they do. I'll tell you why. They don't wear kaftans to their sleep.
Sure.
They don't wear kaftan to play tennis or to do recreational activities. So, like I said, if you ask yourself the why, you will decide what market best suits you. Now, do you want to be the brand that they wear when they're sleeping? Do you want to be the brand they wear when they're sporting?
Yeah.
Do you want to be the brand they wear when they're, partying at their children's, event, or they want to look, just different from their regular everyday kaftan looking self?
Yeah.
So if you ask yourself, you will find your answers, and then you'll be content in that space, right? And you will dominate it.
Sure, absolutely.
Do you get me? So I believe people don't get to do that. They just jump right into it. And they start to, rethink every of those processes all over again. And maybe by that time they've made a couple of mistakes here and there, and basically. So
in the issue of compromising your standard, for example, have you ever been faced with that dilemma? You might probably have to compromise your standard to accommodate maybe more customers. Have you?
If you have to compromise for the product that you say you make, which is your identity.
True.
It means you don't even know what you're doing. In simple terms, imagine Steve Jobs decided to compromise the standard of the Mac product. I'm giving you an instance.
Of course.
Imagine Samsung decides to compromise on the standard of Samsung products. Now, there is a market for everyone. The people who want the cheap item, there's a saying, if you want cheap, you would always pay twice.
True. True. And I hate paying twice.
Yeah.
I like to just get it once.
You would pay twice. So for those who want cheap but can afford to not pay twice, right? They're doing themselves a disservice by not patronizing you who gives them a one-time experience without the hassle and the headache.
Let me quickly share this story.
Right.
I was Lagos Fashion and Design Week. I was 3 years ago in Lagos, and there was this designer. They're having like a mini session. There's this session we're having, like a 30-minute session. I can't remember the designer's name, but he said he remembered when he started that a lot of people will come to meet him and say, your product is nice, it makes sense, but they can't afford it. So he was almost tempted to compromise the standard. And later, but he just kept on. He didn't do that. He didn't compromise. So years after, probably like 4 years after, when those people started to make more money in whatever they were doing, they came back to start buying what they were complaining about.
To help you buttress whatever experience you've had with this story, I for one, for instance, have had clients who have built with me, I would put it that way, or have grown with me. Like, they started with me when I was in a fairly priced figure, right? They understood quality. They understood that not just quality, but the fact that they could get this quality in the price range. They valued what they were getting at the price point they were getting, because they knew what it cost them if they did something else somewhere else. But I was still on a fairly price point, right? So I found out that as I grew, and in moments where I increased my prices slightly above what it used to be, I put it this way, it's not so significant, a price increase, but it happens from time to time based on the market movement and the market fluctuations and the imbalances, right? and sometimes the new product or new things we offer or new improvements we offer in our service, they never had to complain. I had the very recent story of someone who had come in contact with our product, and some random person, very random, as far back as like 2 or 3 years ago, and someone had gotten the suit that they had for their convocation, and this is their words, they kept drooling at the piece and the quality, and this was when we were fairly starting out, but they saw our price point because they were students. They knew that we're not there yet, but they kept us in their mind, and they followed us.
I hope someone is listening
now. Much later, this happened like couple of months back. 2 months back about. So they are now in their master's program in a different country. And they reached out to us to tell us this story and tell us now that they are within that earning capacity and
so they
want
can
to
afford it.
Buy
exactly.
Now, like I said to you,
if you had dropped your standard because of some certain people.
This is a very recent story, and that's why it's fresh, and I'm telling you. Don't look at, as long as you know what you're doing, and you know you're not a greedy business person, and you're not.
I think that's important. You're not a greedy business person.
I said something about character.
When
we started this,
you did,
and it still boils down to this, to factor in a lot of these things into it. As long as you have your accounting right, doing the plus and minus to be sure that you are delivering value and getting paid right for it in the most ethical way. No matter how people will always find your price point high. Let me give you an instance. Even Fashion Nova, for some people, Fashion Nova is cheap. For some people, Fashion Nova is still expensive. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there are different class brackets or different class earning classes, right? So everyone at some point will find your price a little bit.
And you have to know your customers.
Yes, if you do that, you would not find yourself doubting if you're pricing right. And let me give you another story. A lot of creatives do not know anything about pricing.
They're just creatives.
Yes. They don't know anything about pricing. Sometimes when the accountant comes in to break everything down for them, they realize that they've just been coasting. How would I say? It's just vibes, right? It's just vibes.
Pure vibes.
They're doing. It's not a business, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? So they find themselves even on the pricing, even when people are still saying they're overpriced. Now imagine if they know their prices properly. Do you get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, for some of these people, they go as far as developing their fabrics or customizing the fabrics before they actually. And there's marketing costs, there's production costs, there is salary you have to pay yourself. That's why I say they don't do their pricing right. There's profit that you have to declare. There's expenses that you run every month. So I'm sure if they do their pricing right,
they'll realize.
You'll probably realize. So
fashion is expensive.
It is.
To look good is not beans now. You have to.
And if you find
looking good is good manners.
Also, another insight: if you find clothes that are cheap, someone is being slaved out for that reason.
True.
I'm going to tell you that
a documentary recently surfaced on the BBC where I think people in India,
in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in
the horrific conditions they were producing clothes in India,
in Vietnam, a lot of them. If these big conglomerates, if they're selling things for cheap for you, trust me, especially clothing, people are slaving for that purpose.
But we also have to. I'm sure we can't do that today. We'll definitely do it some other time.
That's a different conversation.
It's a different conversation. But in the future, when I bring you back, hopefully, I'd like us to talk about the issue of climate change too, as regards clothing, because we're getting to a point where we have to reuse this material.
Yes, you have
because
to be
the
very
number
conscious.
of waste that we're generating, that the fashion industry is contributing into the society. it's alarming. So
I'll give you an instance. Gabriel Solomon is going back into its archives and its past portfolios to bring back some of the things that have been in the past collections, or make them in the same manner, and have reusable materials, recycled materials. It's very important because we're not just a social conscious brand, we're also an environmental conscious brand. And it's important that you understand that we create a lot of waste in fashion. Other industries do, but fashion contributes to a good amount of waste in the environment. And
that is why you should buy Gabriel Solomon, because they're fashion and environmental conscious. Beautiful. So, but I won't let you go without telling us where your ideas and creativity comes from, because when I speak to some people, they tell me, maybe if they are driving and they see something, or if they have a glass or two of wine, if they are partying, where does that ginger come from?
I will tell you two things. I will tell you one thing that sounds cliche, but it's not cliche to me, because people who see me on every day have a different perception of the person that I am. So two things. My inspiration comes from God.
Oh wow.
I will put it that way. Simple as it is. And my second inspiration comes from God's creation, which is earth. Right? So everything that is within the earth and its earth form inspires me. And sometimes you find them in the tones and the color and the texture of fabrics that I use. So those are the two things that inspire me as a person. Right? And
that's what inspires your brand too.
What inspires my brand is similarly the same thing, but it has a bit of twist to it. It's also inspired by sculpture and art forms.
Okay.
So, but as a creative director of the brand, what inspires me is God, number one, and secondly, the earth. Those are the two key things in my.
That's fantastic. I hope we were able to do justice to the topic of harnessing the opportunities in the fashion industry here in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nigeria. On that note, I would like to thank Gabriel Solomon for stealing his time. And
you really stole it. You did steal it.
Yes, I did steal it. I'm sure we had a great conversation. And if you're listening, it's important when you're starting out into any business, whether fashion, be it entertainment, the arts, whatever, you should know your market, know your environment, and look at, not just the opportunities that are there, but also your weaknesses. You have to evaluate yourself and never compromise your standard. I think that is what we have to take away here. Never compromise your standard to accommodate another person's lack of whatever or their insecurities. So on that note, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.